Hi guys! I felt it was time for some short readings, which are not full readings. These are just like mini interpretations. So I go into the unit section in the group and I look at some of the posts or the comments that's been posted. It can be the Gene Keys or the Human Design, and some people post both. And it's just this kind of a snapshot that I, go in and I let the profile speak to me. And sometimes I don't remember if I've done them before. I think I should kind of go from the top down. The cool thing is that you will see if I happen to do your chart twice, it's really going to be the same, kind of the same. It's the same blueprint. So what stands out in that kind of like mini interpretation is going to be very much the same because it's there. It's in your blueprint, and it's not something that I'm making up, right? That's why I love this system so much. And that doesn't mean that you can't go in deeper into a chart and actually, spend just a whole session, for example, on just one sphere and kind of tie that into like some of the dynamics in the chart. So it's like you can go really, really deep, and you can also look at the overview and kind of tell the story in like I usually do in like 10 minutes. So it's just fun to be able to do that. And please, if you want, post your charts in that unit section, and don't hesitate to like comment on each other. Sometimes there are people that have almost exactly the same chart, so that can be fun to compare. Um, and yeah, let's do it. So this is from the top. Let's see. I'm gonna start from the top. Melinda, Elizabeth, I remember doing. Ron, I'm not really sure. Did we speak about Ron? Kind of looks familiar. Um, Beautiful incarnation cross. It's the cross of the Sphinx. I also have this cross. It's a lot about, and it's a 4-6, it looks like. So it's a lot about direction, a lot about inner guidance, and actually trusting your intuition in the moment. Um, and it's about discernment as well. A lot of discernment in relationships, like who to trust, who not to trust, becoming a role model, kind of making mistakes in the beginning of your life and then being able to guide others. There is there is a lot of adventure in your life, and I think it's not only in the beginning of your life. It's actually always there. Is a kind of hunger that could be lived out in a little bit of a negative way, or impatience, but also that is there to fuel your life purpose and your life path. And with the open sacral, be aware of your energy, so that you don't, just because you're like going with other people, that you completely deplete yourself, but always listen into your G center, who you are, what's right for you. And a lot of openness, so to not really the pressure from the outside, of like the stress that you can feel from the outside, or the pressure to kind of promise things and live up to them and prove that you're good enough, or other people's emotions, and how it feels completely open here. So this is a center where, where you really can take in, without even knowing how much you take in, what other people's emotions are, and even the distorted emotions, and then you feel them, and then you think you're going to explode, or you feel really angry, or you feel really not well, and then when you're by yourself, suddenly it feels good again. So just be aware of what's yours and what isn't, and don't escape from confrontation or your own truth. You're really here to express your truth. There's so many ways of doing that, and even your emotions, you're here to be able to express them. And you have this unique ability to see patterns that are abstract for others. You also want to be kind of mindful that your head and your heart work together. And part of your Pluto has to do with imagination, and to kind of break through the confusion, the veil that is there in the collective unconscious, of like being confused and not really knowing and doubting, right? And I would say it's interesting because you have first gate in your design sun, and you also have it in your Neptune. There could be something with like, depression or just entropy, like these cycles that are not really cycles, but these periods of like light and darkness that life has, of entropy and creativity, that somehow could veil your, your transformation, your possibility to evolve in Neptune. So just be aware of like, there's maybe an acceptance around when it feels like there's no energy. Also with that 40, the kind of exhaustion that can happen if you push yourself and there is no creativity and you try to do it anyway, right? So I feel like for you, it's so much, you have the cross of the Sphinx, which is all in the G center. So it's really like knowing who you are, knowing where you're going, knowing where you come from, because that's like the guidance for yourself into the future, and becoming a role model for others. And you have that unique expression in the 8-1 that is like your way of doing it, your style, your exquisiteness. So that's kind of what stands out for me in this one. And I'm gonna probably just write down your name so I can tag you in it, if I haven't already. It's so cool when people that are active in the group, like I see the name and I know that I've seen you in the group, and I don't remember if I've done the chart before. Angelina, I remember I did, and this one I've done it as well. I think I did Devin. I did Susan. Oh yeah, I did Susan's actually long interpretation. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's kind of funny sometimes when I do a short one and then we get to work one-on-one, and then it's just so much more that comes out, right? Then when you look at it, that's what I'm saying. You can see the overall themes that are there and they're powerful. And then when you go into the Trinity of Embodiment, you go into like each sphere and you kind of see the life path and the themes. It's just like, it's like so much kind of this, I don't even know, like, the dolls, maybe the Russian dolls. It's like, you can take one out and one out and one out. There's so many layers of wisdom, Sarah, did I do this one? I can't remember. Kind of looks familiar. I should really write this down. So Sarah, this is a cool chart. Manifesting generator, 5-1, heretic, not really here to listen to anybody else, I would say, with that 5-1. You're also activated now, so your Earth is going to be in the transit tomorrow, that 34-5. So you can feel it could be challenging for you tomorrow, or you could feel a breakthrough, because that is that sphere, of breakthrough and challenge. You also have a lot of individuation circuitry. So not only that 20 and 34, but you also have the 10, and you have it more than once. You have it in your Neptune. So you're really here. It's the integration circuitry to kind of behave the way that feels right for you, to do the thing in the moment, to be available or not, because you're here to be in your own process. And a lot of circuitry also in your willpower, so you kind of know what you want and you know your value. It's together with this beautiful channel of community in your personality, in your design, sun and earth. So kind of a beautiful, interesting cross where you have this side is a lot about the integration individual, and here's a lot about the community and the tribal community. And maybe we could go into love your incarnation cross and see what it says. So it was 20 and 37. This is something I often do just because it's fun. It's a little bit simplified, but sometimes it can be quite telling. So the cross of duality, right? Yeah, it's a 5-1, it's the left angle cross. transpersonal cross. So we like to say it's about the now, it's about power, friendship, and aloneness. You are here to be the mutative force in a tribe. You carry very industrious energy to do things and get them done. The individual aspect you introduce may be attractive for your community to adapt into their practice. However, not all individual changes are adaptive for two reasons. One, you may wish to keep it as your own thing and not share it. Two, the group or the community may not see the value in your new ways and reject it. So there is a dance that you will do in this life, bringing change to the group or community and seeing if it's adopted or not. And that is what we were saying, part of it is like really individual and kind of not even like so interested in sharing it. And the other one is all about community and sharing and kind of understanding what's each person's right role in the community and having also new ways of doing that. So it's a very cool cross, I have to say. Here, really cool cross. And then you have also this, what I always kind of like to see, the keeper of the keys, this tantric channel that is circulating life force, where you're really just like, you have a lot of power, and if you're able to through that channel really, circulate that energy up to your heart and know who you are and know where you're going, and knowing what love is, and be a role model for that with integrity, being a voice for that even more, with that heretic 5-1 in the world. That is really cool. That's the kind of leaders that we want. That's such a good way to be grounded in when you're sharing your solutions. You also have that 2343, which is, I could see you also why some things would be adopted and some things wouldn't, right? If you're in a community, because you have that spontaneous voice of insight to say things that have never maybe been said before. So depending if you're in the right community, you're a genius, and if you're in the wrong, you're kind of seen as a freak. So that's something that can be important. You also have, like, coming back to the tantric part of you, that 6th line, sexuality and intimacy. It's also very tantric. So it's like, it's kind of both the things you can often be disappointed because you know that something more is possible, but also learning to have the perspective and the patience that every experience, every moment is perfect in itself, and together the moments are taking you somewhere. We are evolving. So for you in intimate sexuality, it's important to marry the animal aspect in the sacral and the human aspect in the heart, and then the higher aspects of vibration and frequency and circulating energy that has to do with even the feeling of like creating something from that life force, creating in your life, manifesting through, letting that life force flow through you and with another person. So that's why you probably wouldn't choose to just do it with anybody, but you want the higher values of the 6th line to be there. So all that is in this 6-3, and then I can open this so you see it here. Disappointment, innocence. So there is like real innocence, because there's like the opposite of thinking that sex is something wrong or low. It's like for you, sex is on all levels, and it's in innovation as well in that 3rd line. Being a child still, being in ecstasy, in the innocence of like the beauty of what it is to share. And then you can see here, this is why I love to look at both charts, this 51 in like all these spheres that are close to each other. There can be a lot of shock. Your life is probably not just calm, but that shock is leading you to initiations, to new things, to awakenings, to also tap into your shamanic side and tapping in deeper into love, which is the 25th gene key, which you can especially live if you meet people that have the 25th in a prominent place in their profile. You can feel into this even more, how this kind of shock of life, when it's combined with love, it's just so amazing. It like really kind of propels us into growing and evolving. So it would be really interesting, Sarah, to hear about that 51 and how you're living that one out. especially also knowing that you have an open spleen. So for you, it's like you want to be careful with your health. You want to make sure that you don't let things linger in your life that are not good for you physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Just really cut those off of your life, and make sure that you don't, like, that is not the things that are draining or pressuring you from the outside are not good, not for you and not for anybody else, but a little bit more carefulness with the open spleen, of course. And then, like, a very basic human design thing, it's like, with this emotional center defined, being an emotional authority, to sleep on things, to not just make decisions when everything feels really good or really bad, but let it kind of become more stable, and then you make a decision. So feeling a lot, experiencing a lot, like, having emotions, but not making decisions based on the most the peak emotions, whether it's a high or a low peak. And purpose is something that's your Pluto, right? So purpose is something that is unfolding for you, fighting the right battles, and also to not let, like, that kind of, what we said, when you're very into your own thing and kind of a little bit like self-absorbed, to not let that veil your true purpose, I would say. So yeah, I don't think I had done this actually, but I don't know, I'm not sure. Sarah, Emil. So here we have a 2-4. I've done a lot of 2-4s this week. So this is a lot of, it's relationships are the challenge, but also there is so much potential to live a life of passion through relationships. And what we say for the 6-2 is, like, fulfill yourself first, because otherwise you could get disappointed. So you break out of that risk for disappointment by fulfilling yourself first, making sure that you're in flow, that you're in ease, that you are flow, ease, and naturalness. That's your keywords. And for you, you don't really, like, if you don't do that, you're going to be in conflict and turbulence. So you really want to find really just find your own flow first, and then you include others. And then when that happens, your friendships are going to be so much more rewarding. And it's kind of the difference between light and darkness in a way. You have this incarnation cross or activation sequence that we call the cross of Eden, 6, 36, 12, and 11. So it's like in the shadow frequency of conflict, turbulence, vanity, or superficiality and obscurity. It's like somebody took you and threw you out of Eden, threw you out of paradise, and you can, like, look your whole life, wish for coming back to Eden, like coming back to paradise, but doubting that that's not possible. And often with the 5th line, it's like, it's not possible. You're doubting because of the relationship that went wrong, the guilt or the blame in the relationships, and it just feels too complicated. Too many things went wrong for you to actually being able to forgive. And that's why we say that the vocation in line 5 is so much about, like, just letting it go. It doesn't matter. You can never be free if you don't let go of it. And then you can start again, fulfilling yourself first, and see how your friendships are different, how they're more like air, how you can breathe better again. And then, your relationships from before maybe have been a lot of kind of distraction and that kind of superficiality that I was saying. You can go to, like, something that's more enriching, something that is playful without being promiscuous, something that is, playful in over time maybe, and doesn't just have to end after the experience, like something more enriching, something more nurturing. I would say that even if, your life is a lot about simplifying, because when you simplify, your true versatility, your true flexibility, your true talent can come through. So simplifying, naturalness, ease, and passion are important things for you. Fulfill yourself first. Make sure that your friends there's reciprocity in the relationships. Make sure also the relationships are about enrichment and not just distraction. Forgive whatever happened, and don't doubt that it's possible in this world to actually feel that we are on the right track, and include adventure, and at the same time simplify, and see what really matters for you, what is the essence, what really matters, and see what comes from that, and I would be like, don't have a boss if that doesn't feel right for you. You have a fifth line in your culture. So I guess, it's like, maybe that's, play with like how you best work with others on a daily basis, I would say. And come back with that fifth line of forgiveness, respect, just really use your voice in a way that it's probably, in a way, a voice that has more respect, that has more integrity than maybe the voices that you've heard, especially maybe early in life. Um, that's kind of, that's how you're going to remember who you really are and leave that person out. Okay. And then we have a cross of Eden again. Beautiful, the other way around with turbulence, even more important in a way to ground yourself, and to have people that really just nurture your vision. The 4-6 is so important. It's different than the 2-4 profile. So it's like, for you, it's like surround yourself with people that nurture your vision, people that you can trust. For you, it's so important to do what you love. And when you do what you love, you're going to draw the right kind of people to you that you're going to be able to create with. And even your SQ is a fourth line. So that kind of community, belonging, love, kindness, it make you believe that the world is a good place. You also have a lot of simplifying your essence and your culture. You're an entrepreneur somehow, and maybe you can be. It can be a little bit like, it's important for you to not repress, but to really be able to speak your truth, to make your voice heard, to not just go in a deep place that nobody else can access you. And you have that fifth line location as well, so for you it's important too. There have probably been things that haven't been fair, in a way, like when we look at it at first sight, but there's something for you too where your equilibrium, your harmony in life comes from letting go of that, going back to essence, coming into your leadership, to your storytelling, and just grounding in that intent that it's possible, I would say. And Brandy, I think I did yours a little bit, so maybe I'm not going to do it right now. You're a 3-5. You're a powerful 3-5. With the cross of contagion. I just love this cross so much. You guys are contagious, and it's so cool to co-create with you. Your pearl is also activated this week, so I wonder what this week has been like for you, and also the vocation in that 20. This is kind of been a powerful week for you, for sure. And then with all these third lines, I know your stability is a third line too. Yeah, just cool to hear what's been happening for you this week with this pearl vocation activation that you have had going on, I would say. And also wondering, have you found your partnerships? You're really, you're here to work in partnerships. You're really strong, and when you have determination in partnerships, there's like nowhere you can go, right? So I would like to hear about that, or when there have been partnerships when one partner, it was lacking that determination, it was in inertia. What happened then? What happened money wise? Because that's kind of that this the opposing scenario when things get blocked, when we kind of live out the cultures we're in, the shadow frequency, our prosperity and abundance and all our manifestation gets blocked. And it doesn't matter if we have done the Venus work and if we're tapped into our life force and our attraction. If this one in the outer manifestation gets blocked, it kind of even blocks on the outer plane, it blocks what can come to you. So that's an interesting also contemplation between the attraction and the culture. Did I do Kelly? So here we have a very different one from what we had um, with the one we had in the beginning, with those four centers were filled in, and nothing of this was filled in. So this is like, I mean, this is a generator with a lot um, of intuition. 34, 57, and maybe, let's see, yeah, probably born in the 80s, right? Um, so a lot of intuition, a lot of juiciness as well, a lot of possibility for tantric connections. So where we feel like we circulate that raw energy, life force into the heart, into the higher planes. Also, kind of a lot of business savvy. I would say you also have that cross of contagion, a lot of power in that cross. And once you commit, that's kind of a little bit the challenge. Once you do things wholeheartedly, nothing can stop you. You really have the keys once you do that. And you don't want to get, sidetracked by looking for who you are or where you're going outside of yourself, tapping into somebody else. Those centers are completely open. So you're here to become really wise about how that can happen, how you can kind of sidetrack and tuck into somebody else, and then actually your path and your intuition can kind of diminish in that sense. And you might, try to be good enough in those relationships and prove that you have to be good enough for over promise. So then when you kind of get lost here, or lost in your head, lost from other people's influence, you want to come back to your gut feeling, you want to come back to your instinct, you want to come back to finding the right people for you. As a 4-6, again, it's so important for you to have discernment in relationship and really find relationships where you can be, where there's lightness, where there's wholeheartedness, reciprocity from both sides. And many times the 31st years of your life, you have a lot of examples when that hasn't happened. And once that happens, your vision, your power and all that is unlocked. Your own unique style is unlocked. And you can go from, you can really go from something where you have a lot of, you have a lot of inspiration in your life. You're here, but you also have a lot of wise. So that when you come back and ground yourself, that's when you can feel more grounded and not be so much in the whys and trying to answer questions and trying to maybe do the right thing. But really more focused on, like, with precision what's right for you, because it comes from your intuition, it comes from your instinct, it comes from your grounding, it comes from a lot of experiences too. And you're here to have experiences that are really that are really amazing and really strong. And letting go of the fear of failure, that's also very important for you. Let's see if I have also your gene keys. Yes. But we don't have, what do we have? Oh, the pathways, that's fine. So yeah, the right people. Like, this chart is just telling me the right people. All the time, the right people, where there isn't corruption, where there is teamwork, where together you can do anything. And when you do that, there is just so much celebration. Everything is fun and dynamic when you have the right people in your life. When there is respect in relationships, in the emotionally close side, when you are grounded in your intuition and in your own unique style, and when you don't have to convince people, where you can just more be in your heart and in that convincing mode. And then still, like, you are powerful, so you need to keep part of that freedom and adventure, freedom and passion in your life is important, which is part of, like, the right people and the right vision. So that's all connected. And then, part of you could also kind of tell yourself everything is okay, and sometimes don't really want to look really deep. And there you can feel your intuition, it would tell you something's wrong, but you kind of bypass it a little bit. So I would say, whenever that happens, to actually not deny it, but go, when your spleen, when your intuition says something is not quite right here, or something doesn't smell quite right, you really kind of actually want to see that and use that opportunity, that mirror that maybe you have a relationship, like, to not deny that something is wrong, but look both at the other and yourself, and kind of see, what is it that is under here, what is it that maybe is pushed down. And then that's where the through transformations and transformation and and transcending, lower frequencies and just creating new things from that courage to look instead of like looking away, I would say. Um, and Capucine. So this is I was invited to the podcast. So we could actually post that here. I can post that as well in the, or you post it in the in the comments or the intro. 5-1 profile. Beautiful to see a person who is like so powerful in her voice and at the same time has a softness and a sweetness, because that's often the 5-1 can kind of not be a little bit afraid of being in vulnerability. And I really feel like the most beautiful thing is when a 5-1 can be in that vulnerability. And we say breaking out of misunderstanding by using your vulnerability as strength. That is the evolution. That is the key to breakthrough for the 5-1. And that's really what I feel like you're doing. So that's super cool. And that's also part of that, you can feel that you care. I feel that when I speak with you and the people that you are interviewing as well, you care, right? And part of your purpose is in that you actually care. And you have that thing. You're here to start to speak about solutions for humanity. And you are a bit of the savior in a way, because you bring up those things that are so important for not only your own purpose actually, although it's a kind of in the individual circuitry, but it's really the purpose of for all of us. You're transpersonal, so you care for the all. You're here to kind of, you have like a karmic in a way responsibility somehow. And then on this side there is this sensitivity and this remembrance. And I think that's also the cross that you have. It's like you're tapping into that sensitivity, the beautiful sensitivity, like the feminine sensitivity in a way of that 1933, and the storytelling, because you are bringing those stories, not only your own, but the stories you're creating with other people, and that makes us remember the revelation of why we're actually here. And this also for you comes, and I think this is important for you to know, that you need time also by yourself. So it's like you go out and you speak with somebody and then you kind of retreat, right? There is this double keynote of retreat in the 33-1. The 33 is called retreat in human design. So you need to have an experience, have a conversation, and then go back. And that's when the revelation comes, right? And that first line is solitude. So you have a double retreat in that 33-1. So very important for you to resource, in that sense. It's like this is also a really interesting way of the pearl in the culture. It's kind of the same numbers, right, but kind of opposite. So here I would look more when the star pearl, when it comes out, you're going to see that there are names for all the pathways, and there's another triangle here, and to see the flow that we have between the pearl and the culture, and just really see that this is a kind of sacred geometry that you have. This is the highest of all the gene keys, just the last one, right, after completion. And then you have this 46, the love of being here in physical form, in your essence. There's something with this where I would kind of like to explore deeper with you, but it's kind of the human predicament is part of your prosperity, is part of your essence. And I think that's kind of what you're sharing in the podcast and in your life's work. It's like, you're sharing about what it is to be human, what the confusion can be, what the confusion of being here in this form can be. And you have that 6th line, you're taking it to a higher octave, and you're also doing it through the heart, right? And creating a network of many people that speak about, it's their voice and way of seeing it, but it's kind of all connected in one big network that has to do with like imagining a better world in a way. That's kind of how I see it. um, and then overcoming some of the things that, failure that might be from this lifetime or other lifetimes, like shame, failure, something where we don't feel like, we don't, that self-love and self-acceptance isn't completely there, but that's what we are doing with the core. um, and it also goes through that SQ, so you have that third line that is there. There's kind of this strong personality in a way on the outside, and then you have those very, more the emotional, the third and the fourth line on the inside. And an understanding, this is, again, that's your attraction, that's what you're going to live out in relationships, intolerance and kind of distance, and then going from there to deeper understanding and coming back to the heart and having that heart, that vulnerability, that care open, right? And then it's so interesting when I look at your chart, it's like I have very similar. I have those four centers open. I have the emotional center completely open. We just had a chart before with this. It's like what I'm saying with the completely open center is that often they are held, right? We don't know where we can feel basically whatever, we can feel everything that's going on in other people's emotional systems, but we don't know. Before we know human design, we don't know that. So we are just like going through the world, kind of amplifying everything that everybody else is feeling and not knowing what to do with it, and actually not even knowing what we feel because we don't have a reference point. There's nothing that is activated here. So you don't have a reference point of how to process it. That's why they say that many people with completely open emotional are, in the mental hospitals, because it's really confusing to not even know what you feel sometimes, and at the same time you're feeling what everybody else is feel, and then you kind of change places, you go somewhere else, or you remove yourself from a situation, and then you feel fine again. So this is so important with a completely open emotion, to know what's yours, what's not yours, finding ways of like kind of cleansing out that emotional center so that you're in your own energy. And at the same time, you have a lot of activations. You have this central pillar uh, of um, of like where the energy can be really in your center, where you can ground through your root center, through your instinct and intuition. In your sacral center, you also have this rhythm. For you, it's so important to be, I have to do with the 3319 too, to be in nature, to be with animals, if you like pets and things like that, even, or just like, tuning with the birds, it doesn't matter. But to be with nature, with that fluorescence and time and rhythm of the 15-5, to really use that as an anchor. And then, of course, you have the prodigal, you have this storytelling. You're both so good at listening and so good at having experiences, and then kind of retreat and come back and tell them, right? So it's, of course, you have this channel. It's super beautiful. And also, your life has not always been easy. You have this channel of struggle, where you kind of have to, fight the right fight, to fight the right fight to find your purpose and create what you're doing and keep doing it. That's it's just very cool. You have it in node 28 and 38 is in your creativity. Yeah, so part of that warrior energy that you have is part of your, it's really part of your creativity. Your creativity is very powerful. It has that kind of warrior energy, and like it's here to ascend, right? So that's part of your creativity. And probably how you're gonna, create also the network that you're creating with your podcast and the things that you're doing. um, and then you're here to be very open. That's why you can speak with so many people without being judgmental. You're here to be very open, and to be able to see so many perspectives, and not necessarily even remember everything that people tell you, but actually just let it pass through and be a synthesizer, which I feel so much that what you're doing is. So yeah, so much fun to actually look at the chart when you kind of know the person and what they are doing. That really kind of just gives you a ability to be like, okay, this is like this in this situation, right? When I just look at the chart without knowing the person at all, I don't have these like little anchors so that I know that actually this is what's being played out. um, so yeah, wow, that was so cool. So many charts, and just just really feeling like, we're tapping into so much, so much wisdom, so much uniqueness, so much differentiation. And it's all there in the blueprint. And once we know it, we can start to play with it. And it's not that we are just our profile, or we have a label, or we are this or that, but it just gives us more ability to play in one way, more ability to come back to the definition of the centers, the grounding, the intuition, whatever is there as our genius. It gives us the ability to come back to that. And that's really what I'm using it for. So it's not at all to make life more narrow. It's really to make life more fun and more expansive. Thank you.